Hi, I'm Shelley DeVries, and we're talking today about how to work with pornography issues in your community. I want to start with a little story. In the late 1800s, Henry B. Eyring's father came across the Mexican border. He was 19. And they asked him, "Do you have any pornography?" To which he answered, "I'm sorry, we don't even own a pornograph at my house." So it would have been nice if we today lived in a society where a 19-year-old didn't know what pornography was. But we don't. We live in an era where it's very prominent and it is harming our families. It's everywhere, but we're not powerless against it. So today we want to talk about the things that we can do because we aren't powerless against it. On this slide you'll notice light showing on a path. Our job is to create more light. Some people say, well, with everything that's available on the internet, why should I do things in my community? Well, I believe it puts more pressure on us to do things in our community because we are going to create that light. If we back away, that light will go away, and what we'll have is darkness. If you think of a continuum with light and dark on each end, pornography is like that. Only today, only the very blackest areas are being successfully prosecuted in the courts because our community standards have slipped. There is a whole gray area there, and there is some small amount of light. Our job is to increase the light. Light is not the absence of darkness, but darkness is the absence of light. So we know as long as we are here, there will be light, but there will coexist darkness. Our job is to create as much light as we can. When we do that, we have to speak out. And sometimes that can be really intimidating. A number of years ago, I asked people in my neighborhood and area and friends and family to write letters to libraries because we wanted to get computers filtered. And many of them were right on it. They really wanted to do it, but I would receive calls back saying, I just don't know how to say it. I just don't know what to say. So I developed this method for speaking and letting your voice be heard. The first thing is a sincere compliment. If you go into a retail outlet, there's a reason you go there. You like their merchandise. You like how the management works. You like how the customer service. There is something you like about that store, that retail outlet. Same thing you would like about a library. When you're driving down the road and you see billboards, you may like that business. So a sincere compliment is not that hard to come up with about a business. The second thing you want to do is initiate the conversation about the problem. The problem I'm having is that when I come into your retail outlet store, I see right before my face and my children's face this large advertisement in your window, which is very inappropriate. And so state what the issue is that you want them to resolve. E stands for education. Now, it's sometimes a little hard to always know what to educate somebody on, but you can get some facts from Fight the New Drug. They have a whole series of facts that you can use to back up what you are saying. It might be something like this. When I come into your store and I see this giant advertisement right in the door front and it's offensive to me and to my family, I'm sure that you don't mean it that way because you are a member of our community. And you don't want the negative consequences such as rape or criminal activity or abuse of women, abuse of children, those things which are consequences of so much pornography saturating our culture. Those kind of facts can help somebody who is there think about what they're contributing in the community. There are many facts that you can share with them about those kind of issues. Then you want to ask for the action that you are asking for. I would like to ask you to remove this advertisement from your window in the mall. It is inappropriate, and I'm going to follow up with you in a month. The last thing is kudos for their time. Thank them. Oftentimes, the person that you're talking to directly the first time won't be the person who could remove that ad. They are only your initial contact, and then you need to ask, if you're not the person that is able to do this action, who would I talk to? How can I get this to happen? Now, we have lots of ways we can also send messages to businesses. For instance, there are Facebook pages or websites that we can send letters to. We can unite and do letter campaign. We can ask for a meeting. where we make our voices be heard in person. All of those things require some kind of format for you to speak up. And so if you use the S.P.E.A.K method, it gives you a little confidence in talking to them. Now, when we educate people on this, we have to assume that they're just like us. They've got families. They want to support and protect as well. And so we need to talk to them in a Christian manner, as if we were doing some kind of a business deal with them. They'll be more apt to make that change permanent. Just a little story to go along with educating people. There was a certain private school in Washington, and there were 12-year-old girls there. And when they were turned 12, they decided they were going to wear lipstick. And so these 12-year-olds were putting lipstick on, and then they would go into the bathroom, and they found it quite humorous to kiss the bathroom mirror. Of course, the custodian did not find it quite as humorous, because every night he was scrubbing that lipstick off the mirror. But the principal, even though they made several announcements about it, one day came up with a brilliant idea to educate those girls. He brought them into the bathroom after school and said to them, "Now, we would like to have this lipstick removed, so we'll have the custodian show you how he does it." At which point the custodian put his squeegee in the toilet and scrubbed the mirror off with the toilet water. Needless to say, there were no more lipstick prints on the mirror after that. So there are teachers and there are educators. So when we present the facts, we need to do it in such a way that it really does make sense to those who we are talking to. Also, businesses sometimes get the same feedback, only from the opposite side. I worked with a local grocery store here who was against covering their magazines, wouldn't return my phone calls for about 3 years, and one day the vice president of that company gave me a call and asked me to go to lunch. And we had been working on this issue with them for quite some time, so I was quite excited to have this conversation. And during lunch, the vice president told me that the problem that they had is that one time they had begun to cover magazines, which the public had found offensive. An alternate group came in and accused them of censoring. And I replied to her, well, the thing you need to realize is that censorship, there's a different definition for censorship versus responsible ownership. Censorship is when somebody's unauthorized to remove that material. But if you own the business, you get to do whatever you want with the merchandise in that business. You get to be the good neighbor to the residents and the community. Businesses get to decide. That was a relief for this vice president. They wanted to cover magazines, and now they felt empowered to do so because it wasn't censorship. Another issue besides retail outlets, billboards, advertising, window storefronts, magazines, all of those places where our families frequent and see inappropriate images, are libraries. Now, libraries are influenced by the American Library Association, who has a very liberal policy on what should be allowed. Right within their own Bill of Rights, they talk about the fact that anybody, any age, can access any material, even bestiality, in the libraries. Now, you and I, that's hard to believe because we see libraries as a civilized place, somewhere that societies have a learning ability for people to go and find materials that they need. But we need to be aware that it has issues there as well. So what you can do is you can go to your local library and ask them for their internet policies. And then after that, if you attend a library meeting with friends and patrons and just request that they keep the library a safe place for patrons. A number of years ago, we did this in Utah, and there were a series of computers that we ran content audits on. And then we took the content audits to a local filtering company who then rated from 1 to 10 the most serious things being accessed on the internet. One of the highest rated computers was 2 feet from the information desk where a librarian sat. And so this material was being accessed very close to some of the workers, which isn't fair to them as well. When we took that information to the library, they were almost in disbelief and did not want to address the issue. So sometimes you may have to make several attempts talking to libraries to help them understand the seriousness of this issue. A Child Internet Protection Act is something that every small community, state, or city can pass. In the state of Utah, we were the first ones to pass it throughout the nation. The Supreme Court passed it nationwide, which said this: if you are a library that applies for a certain funding, and usually this was rural libraries, you are unable to get that funding unless you filter public access computers. So in Utah, we copied what the Supreme Court had done and approved and came up with Utah S.P.E.A.K law. There are still issues in Utah libraries today and in other states. So if this is something you can investigate and find out, have a conversation about, and you can even go to your local city. I live in Sandy. I can go to Sandy and say, let's pass a Sandy S.P.E.A.K law. And once that's done, no money attached. It's just a city ordinance that has to be obeyed by the libraries. So that's something you can do to keep libraries safe. We want to keep our community safe by increasing the light, keeping the light there. We can't back away. We can't think that, oh, there's so much stuff on the internet that what good does it do? We have to do our part, make our voices be heard. And I want to thank you for listening today, and if you have any questions, we've left some emails that you can contact us at, and if there's anything we can do to help, be sure to contact us.